Hello and welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Caw and I'm delighted to be joined all the way from Fir Park by Record Sports Craig Swan. Swanee, how's it going?
How you doing, Daniel? You okay?
I'm good, thanks. You've obviously done us a huge favour on the Hotline Live by staying behind. It looks like a rather dark Fir Park now.
Everyone's gone. I'm the last one here. Everyone has literally gone.
Well, we appreciate it. We really do.
That's all right.
You're obviously there because Celtic 3-0 victors today over Motherwell. It was quite a routine win for Celtic, but definitely a couple of talking points. The first one that I would throw at you, Swan, is Luke McCowan. How did you think he got on today? Obviously got a goal.
I think it was just a continuation of Luke McCowan's Celtic career to date, to be honest with you. He's seamlessly moved into anything he's been asked to do. Today was another first for him, getting that first start, and just looked as though he'd been there for 5-10 years, no problem. Eased into the situation. And I just think it's just part of the course for him now at Celtic. He's looked like a Celtic player since he was signed, and nothing that happened today would change your thought process on that.
He kind of, and I mean, this is by no means a criticism of Arne Engels, who I think has shown flashes that he's like a Rolls Royce of a player, but McCowan's definitely impressed me more since they both came in.
Yeah, different styles and different players, and I mean, I think we're very quick in this country when something goes slightly awry for a couple of games that you start to maybe forget. I mean, I said on this Hotline Live that I thought Engels was smooth as silk when I first saw him. I think he's got power, he's got strength that's Celtic need in the Champions League. I think you saw that in Atalanta, the ability to be, to stand up to the physical side of it. Michael's obviously at the game, and he made the point that they were all big lads at Atalanta. We need that physical presence in there. Now, I'm not saying Luke McCowan wouldn't have been able to do it, but Engels did a shift, even though he wasn't brilliant on the ball in Italy. He did a real shift, and Brendan Rodgers alluded to that. And I think the key for Celtic is the ability that you can take an £11 million player and sit him on the bench and give him a rest, and you have the quality of McCowan to come in. But like I say, every time he stepped onto the pitch since he signed for Celtic, McCowan, he's looked right at home. Come into the Rangers game straight away, just eased into it, no problem. And he just looks completely and utterly at home.
What about in the first half? Celtic saw a second goal ruled out with Daizen Maeda. It was a kind of curious instant. Did you think it was a penalty? I'll put it differently. I thought it was a penalty. I thought he was kind of pushing behind. I know it would have been a little bit soft, but there's no reason why he would go down there otherwise.
Well, I'm going to caveat this by saying, unfortunately, I wasn't in the comfort of my home and didn't have 56 replays. So I've seen it once. And it looked to me that he was being grappled as he made his way into the box. And then I'm wondering why he's going down in that situation, unless he's been nudged over. What happens then afterwards if the ball ricochets against his arm? That's a result of him going down. Yeah. I couldn't see any reason at the time for going down because it looked as though he was getting in. So that was my first thought, actually, that this could be a penalty. But obviously with the ball rolling into the net, it seemed to cause all sorts of confusion. Everybody stopped. Players stopped. It looked to me like the referee even stopped, as if I'm not really sure what's going on here.
Aye.
I'm looking at everybody else, and if listen, I would probably need to brush up slightly on my VAR rules. I'm not sure, but I thought the VAR could recommend a penalty, but then again, because David Dickinson didn't give it, does that mean it wasn't clear and obvious that it was a penalty? I was sitting trying to work out myself. As I say, I got one look at it, and it looked to me like he was being grappled as he made his way into the box. I couldn't figure out why else he'd gone down, but
yeah.
I think maybe I might watch a television replay when I get home from this fridge, and he'd say it differently. I'll defer to those who managed to see it a few times on the telly.
One guy not playing for Celtic who I wanted to get your take on, Swanee, was Lennon Miller, because particularly in the first half he caused Celtic a lot of problems. He hit the woodwork twice. Being there in person today, did he stand out for you?
It was very simple. I mean, listen, he stood out all season, and the ability is just outstanding. We've all seen that. We all know it. Did he stand out? I don't think any Motherwell player stood out really after they started well. Celtic took a wee bit of time just to get a foothold in the game, but once Celtic got the first goal and got control, they pretty much dominated it. I mean, you could see that little flashes of class that the kid's got. I mean, we've been seeing that all season. But I think today he just got overrun. I think the second half, they just got overrun in there. Motherwell. Celtic were just excellent.
And what about Swanee? Probably the biggest talking point, I think, fair to say, is the challenge from Liam Gordon on Adam Ida in the second half. It was funny because see when Gordon was given his red card, he looked like it was an injustice. He looked raging about it, but I thought it was an absolute shocker.
Again, haven't seen any television replays. Don't know just at the time, but you can. I often find in these situations player reactions. I think it was Nicholas Kuhn. He was up in arms immediately, as if something was badly awry. Spoke to Stuart Kettlewell after the game. He thought it was harsh. So, again, I can't argue with him having not seen it again, but it looked a bad one at the time.
Honestly, when you see it again, Swanee, I'd be stunned if you don't think it's a red card. It was really.
Yeah,
I don't think
because from speaking to people afterwards, that was the general. From I'd seen it. Basically said, "Oh yeah, 100%."
I don't think he's meant to do him, but he's just mistimed it, and he could have really done a lot of damage.
No, and it looked to me at first glance like he kind of left the ground as well.
Aye.
Caught on the way down. If you do that, you're in big trouble. So wasn't sure exactly how it was, whether he caught him clean on the ankle or whether he caught him on the calf or the foot. I couldn't see it exactly from high up in the stand, but he'd obviously been caught. And like I say, player reactions tell you a bit. Nicholas Kuhn was quite close and he was fuming, so you kind of knew something was amiss.
Aye, absolutely. And Cameron Carter-Vickers come back as well. He come on in the second half for Liam Scales. I kind of get the impression that although Scales has been absolutely immense this season for Celtic, he's been brilliant, and I'm not saying he's likely to get dropped anytime soon, but I do think that perhaps Rodgers sees the Trusty and Carter-Vickers as the two kind of partnership going forward.
That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. Certainly Trusty's left-sided, which would make you think that he'd had him earmarked to play alongside Carter-Vickers. So the problem with that is Liam Scales is just growing and growing and growing and getting better every time you see him. So it comes back to the situation where you've got 60-odd games in a season and it has what we've seen over the last almost 6 weeks with Cameron Carter-Vickers not available. At some point, someone else is going to get a calf or someone else is going to have a niggle. And I think the key thing for Celtic this season, as was shown today with Callum McGregor not having to play, you don't have to push guys. If there be niggles or wee strains, they're able to bring in quality replacements, and listen, without being disrespectful of the boys themselves, Gustav Lagerbielke and Mike Narocki never really looked like they were up there last year. Stephen Welsh had chances as well. When you're bringing Austin Trusty in or you're bringing Liam Scales in to play alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers, or if you're bringing Cameron Carter-Vickers in, you're getting quality in there. So that's what Brendan Rodgers has been looking for. Listen, look at Atalanta. Cameron Carter-Vickers isn't available. Does Gustav Lagerbielke or Mike Narocki or Stephen Welsh play the way Austin Trusty did?
No chance.
There's your answer.
Without being harsh.
LAB. I know the back line is the one area where a manager would like to keep it consistent. You can change the sort of front six if you like and mix and match them, but you try and keep the back four solid. But I think in this instance there might be a case to manoeuvre them around a little bit and give them all chances.
It's actually testament, Swanee, to Celtic's strength and depth that we're 9 minutes into this chat and I hadn't even mentioned that Callum McGregor was missing today. His first league game that he's missed, I think, since April. On the face of it, you'd say, it's a big miss for Celtic. They didn't really feel it today. But Celtic will be hoping he's back sooner rather than later.
Of course, Brendan Rodgers suggested after the game it wasn't. He didn't think it was too serious. I think his exact words, if I can remember correctly, were possibly Wednesday, but if not, hopefully Saturday. So it didn't sound like it was a serious one. And again, Celtic are just in a position where they don't need to take risks, and that's where the performance of Luke McCowan today, Paulo Bernardo today, Rio Tati today. That's where it's so important. And then you go into a game on Wednesday night against Dundee and Brendan Rodgers can bring an £11 million midfield player back into the second. I mean, that's what Celtic are building. That's what makes them so strong at the moment. And again, you have a situation, Adam Ida comes off the bench to replace Kyle today and scores. So they're just quality all over.
And before I let you go, Swanee, a massive 10 days for Celtic. You mentioned their Dundee on Wednesday night, then it's Aberdeen in the semi-final next weekend, and then Leipzig a week on Tuesday. Those 3 games, if Celtic can get 3 victories in those games, it sets them up for the rest of the season, really, doesn't it?
Oh, if Celtic were to get 3 victories in the next 3 games, they're absolutely flying. Because cup final booked, would that be 7 points in the Champions League with arguably your 3 hardest games out of the way?
Yeah, with just 1 win to take them through.
Aston Villa, Villa Park.
No,
but 3 of the 4 hardest, you would say. But Celtic's mantra is always the next one. I know it's boring, I know it's a cliche, but that whole squad will be looking at Wednesday night, because Wednesday night's massive when you've got the teams, the 2 teams closest to you playing against each other. Gives Celtic a massive opportunity to advance. Absolutely. Whatever happens at Pittodrie. So Celtic just got to take care of Dundee, make sure that's done, and whatever happens, they're going to emerge on Wednesday night or Thursday morning in a stronger position than they were in terms of the top 3 than before they go in the game. That's what it'll be all about. Just one step at a time. But Brendan Rodgers talks about the blocks, the importance of the blocks and the blocks of games. And this is another. All these blocks prior to Christmas are big, just for setting the tone for the season. Of course, it's not the business end, as they say in inverted commas, but you can't do anything at the business end if you haven't done the business at this end. Put it that way.
Bonnie, I really appreciate you joining us on the Hotline Live. I will let you go and let you get up the roads. It certainly looks like it's seen hotter days there. I would really appreciate you joining us, Swanee. Thank you very much.
No bother. All the best, Daniel.
Cheers. See you soon.
Cheers now.
Of course, it wasn't Celtic, the only team playing today. Rangers took on St Mirren at Ibrox Park, and I caught up with Record Sports' Andy Newport a little bit earlier on to talk over the game. Andy, 3 points today for Rangers, a crucial 3 points, but let me throw some of the comments at you that we've had from fans already today. Sandy Maxwell, today's win was totally papering over the cracks. We are chronic. Ryan, today's display was extremely poor. Fresh ideas and management required. Going absolutely nowhere under Clement. And Stu says, sorry, Phil, the 3 points isn't enough to paper over any cracks. That was abysmal. Is that fair, Andy, after today's performance?
Listen, it was far from sparkling performance. It was, pretty drab, one-paced, all the sort of things we've been saying about Rangers for a wee while now. Just kind of ironic that Sergio Dessers, who got the most lukewarm of welcomes when he comes on at half-time, really came up with the one bit of quality that they showed in the second half to get them the goal that gets them the points. But listen, you're right. I think the fans are right as well. This is not a performance that's going to convince many folk that this is the Rangers team heading certainly in the sort of direction that's going to suggest they're going to be title challengers. It's a huge testing coming up on Wednesday at Pittodrie, but on form, you've got to say that Aberdeen are favourites because they're playing well. Where this Rangers team are struggling. I think the thing that surprised me most was that you saw on Thursday night against Steaua Bucharest the sort of template for how this Rangers team perhaps can get results and can impress, and it means them going out at full tempo, playing at a pace where they dive into tackles, they smother the opposition. If they give it away, they race to get it back, and they play the ball with a speed that really, doesn't give the opposition a chance to sort of, live with them really. But again, what you saw was this team going back just to being slow, pedestrian, just a bit mundane, and I think that's what you saw. A bit of the angst, a bit of the frustration coming in the second half, and I think they were kind of fortunate in the sense that they got the goal at a good time, because if they'd left it any later than that, I think you would have saw the nerves really come through in the atmosphere here. And obviously, as we know, a lot of times at this stadium, it sort of transfers into the team. And perhaps the lights might have went out in the title bid just as the lights have gone out in me. So, listen, they got over the line today, but as I say, whether that convinces many folk, I'm not sure it does.
I won't keep you much longer, Andy, before you get huckled out. But the other thing that I wanted to pick your brain over was James Tavernier. Obviously, he was left out the starting lineup today. Do you think on Wednesday at least that'll stay the same?
No, I think you'll see him come back in for a little more of the reason that I think Rangers have got a real big sort of dilemma to certainly a big decision to make at centre back. Obviously, John Souttar was left out today on the advice of the physios. The Commodities just told us in the press conference that they weren't entirely sure that he would have got through this game today had he started without picking up an injury. He's not entirely sure whether or not he'll be fit for Wednesday. I think the decision needs to be made is over Robin Proper. He got bullied at times today. He was, really had a torrid nightmare even up against Toyosi Olasanya, whose pace and strength just really gave him kittens at times. So whether or not he starts, I think there's some real doubt over that. We saw later on in the second half when James Tavernier did come on, he went into his normal right back slot, and Nana Casaviro, who'd sort of started there, was shifted inside. And for the first time in the game, Rangers looked a wee bit defensively solid in that centre back region, because before that, had it not been Leon Balogun sort of bailing out Robin Proper a couple of times, Rangers could have been in real trouble. So listen, James Tavernier, that was the first league game that he's not started since Tynecastle on, was it the 14th of May 2022, 4 days before the team went to Seville. So clearly that tells you about just his importance to this team. Okay, I don't think he's had a great start this season. Obviously his goals, his finally the remarkable scoring run he's been on is they've dried up a little bit, but he's I think for all his experience, he'll be one of the. Obviously, he's a captain. I think he literally will be the first name in the team sheet for Wednesday night up at Pittodrie. But I think what they do at centre back will be interesting. It wouldn't surprise me at all, just based on the way that Casaviro sort of showed in that last 20 minutes there. It wouldn't surprise me at all if John Souttar's not fit. He's the man that's partnering Leon Balogun.
That's an interesting one. I mean, Casaviro looks like a really good player, but I don't think there's anything controversial by saying Rangers' best two centre-backs right now are Souttar and Balogun. Do you think that's fair enough?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, as you saw today, Balogun sort of bailing out Proper on a number of occasions. I think you saw he come into the team on Thursday night after Proper get injured at Kilmarnock at the weekend. And again, Rangers just looked far more secure than they have done for a lot of times this season. Again, Proper down at Rugby Park, had a torrid time in the Astros. So, listen, I think there's some serious doubts now amongst the fan base about whether or not he's the type of character or the type of player. Certainly don't think he's not quick. I think we've seen that already, and I think you're seeing signs that he's struggling to deal with the physicality here. So, I think that's a big decision for Philip Collins to make.
Andy, I will let you go before you're locked in for the evening. Thank you very much for joining us on the Hotline Live, and hopefully I'll speak to you before Wednesday's big game. That's going to be a cracker on Wednesday.
It should be, yeah. Thankfully I'm off. I'm not making the run up, so Scott Burns can handle that one.
Thanks very much, Andy. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, pal.
Record Sports Andy Newport there. We've obviously heard from the guys on Motherwell Celtic and Rangers St Mirren, but the headline game of the day in the Premiership was, of course, Hibs versus Hearts in the Edinburgh Derby. I caught up with Record Sports' Fraser Wilson a little earlier on outside Easter Road, and here's what he made of the game.
Fraser, it wasn't a classic by any means, but who do you think will be more happy with the draw in today's Edinburgh Derby?
There rarely are these games classics, are they? Always kind of live TV video nasties, but it's got to be Hearts, I think. It's got to be Hearts with that late equaliser. Just what a dream for young James Wilson, 17-year-old, to score right in front of the fans that he himself is a boyhood Jambo fan. So to do it in front of 3,500 travelling Maroon Army, just the stuff of dreams, but an absolute, just the latest in a long series of kicks in the teeth for David Gray in the final minutes. I mean, I've counted that's now 4 of the last 7 games where they've conceded result-changing goals after the 86th minute. I mean, just last week you saw them at Dundee United winning 2-1 after 92 minutes and managed to lose the game 3-2. So at least they've got out of this one with a point, but having spoken to Gray and Critchley there, you can definitely see Neil Critchley as a happier manager after that draw.
It's kind of, I was going to say we're pulling his hair out, David Gray. Obviously he won't be in this particular case, but he must be going mad because that goal today, so stupid, so sloppy. They just go to sleep at the back post and it's a goal. He must. I mean, as a manager, I don't know how you stamp that out. Is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, it was happened with question upon question on that. I mean, it's no wonder he's got no hair left in that. He has. He said that, to be fair, and he was right. He said for 99% of that game, my defence have defended brilliantly. They've headed balls in the box. They've stood up to the physical challenge of Shankland. They've made big blocks. Marvin Ekpiteta made a couple of big blocks. But you're right, they go to sleep twice because it's a long throw in and Alan Forrest peels off somebody. You know, Alan Forrest, all 5 foot, one of them, manages to get a flick on at the near post, which is unbelievable. And if that's not bad enough, I think it's Lewis Miller's caught dreaming at the back and young James Wilson gets in front of him to stab it home. So there's 2 mistakes at such a costly time again for David Gray. And do you know what? In injury time, Hearts forced a couple of free kicks and corners in really dangerous areas. And I tell you, the Hibs fans must have been watching through their fingers. Because I, for one, certainly thought, here they go again. They're going
I could feel it as well.
Yeah.
What about Lawrence Shankland, Fraser? I wanted to get your take on him. He's now of today's game. He's 1 goal in 15 appearances for Hearts this season. How did you think he played today, and what is his kind of malaise down to?
Do you know what? Despite what many people say, he never shies or he never lacks in work rate. You know, he puts himself about. He loves these occasions. He loves being the panto villain, and he certainly got plenty of grief for the home support. Do you know what? He didn't today, but he had been contributing assists. I think he had 3 assists in 3 games leading up to last week. Again today, actually, he put in Kenny Vargas in the first half with a really cute little flick, and Vargas was denied by a save for Joseph Bursic. So he's contributing, but just no goals this season. It's stark, isn't it? I mean, for somebody that was kind of averaging 2 goals every 3 games coming into this season. I mean, what is it, 1 in 15?
1 in 15 this season,
It must be getting some. Well, no, Lawrence Shankland is a goal scorer. He was Scotland's Player of the Year off the back of last season's 32 goals, was it? So it must be getting to him. But I will say this from he's still contributing, and he's never short of work rate. He's working his socks off there again today. Do you know what? His team have got a reasonable result. I think he'll go home happy. A solid 6 out of 10 for Shankland. I think most players on that pitch today were 6 out of 10. Nobody really stood up. Craig Gordon, oldest player ever to play in an Edinburgh Derby. He just keeps hitting these milestones, and he came up with three big saves. I
was going to say to you about Gordon, Fraser, because again, nothing spectacular, but I thought he was really good today, Gordon. A couple of really clever saves.
It's Dwight Gale in the first half. For me, you know, I'm a goalie connoisseur. I love these things. And I thought when he threw up the big right hand to block Dwight Gale's kind of 6 yards out when he got that header in, that's just Craig Gordon all over. His reflexes are as sharp as anything for somebody that will turn 42 in Hogmanay this year. Kind of saves other keepers don't make. It's just lightning quick reactions. It might not look spectacular, but that was a fantastic save. And he had a couple other important ones after the break as well. So he was as good as anyone on the park today. I think he did as much as anyone to win Hearts that point.
It feels mad that we finished today with these 2 teams bottom and second bottom of the league. That just going into November. It's crazy.
It's shocking. The pair of them it's pretty embarrassing for them if you come to the end of the first round of fixtures and they're both locked at the bottom of the table, which they could well be now. That could be them falling further behind. Is it St Mirren, I think, was third bottom coming into today, but see how they get on today. But obviously this is a pre-record, so I don't know how they've got on today. But do you know, I've watched Hearts on Thursday. I watched Hearts on Thursday there against Ammonia, and they were immense. The impact Neil Critchley's had since he came in, winning his first game last week, obviously 4-0 against St Mirren. It's stark. It's incredible. Really front foot, high pressing, intense, energetic. Thursday more so than today was incredible to watch, really. Maybe put the handbrake back on slightly today. I'm not saying they sat back, but they weren't quite as adventurous. So to win his first game as Hearts boss 4-0, to win his debut in European football 2-0, and then to get a reasonable 1-1 draw in his Derby debut in the home of Hearts' great rivals today. That's not a bad week's work for his first
Aye.
week at Tynecastle. My point is, I think I can see Hearts driving up. I'm on record as saying I think Hearts will still finish 4th this season. They're good enough. They're showing signs of it. Again, they've got a point out of not a very good performance today. They're finding ways now. Hibs, I'm a wee bit more worried about. They just look so fragile at times.
They're away to Ross County on Wednesday as well, and that's already got the making of a really tough but huge game.
I wouldn't put money on them winning that, if I was a betting man. These are the tough games that Hibs historically, never mind this season, have struggled to get anything out. I think that'll be a draw. They quite often draw up there. Again, was it no last season they were winning deep into injury time and Jan Danda, of all people, scored an equaliser. So, look, they need a win. They need it any way they can get it. They need to be a goal up and just defend for their lives to prove that they can do it. Whether that arrives on Wednesday, I don't know, but they need one quick because the pair of them are getting cut off there. Of course, Hibs have that game in hand, so they can actually jump above Hearts whenever that game in hand comes. Hearts have got Kelly on Wednesday, of course.
Yep. Well, Fraser, listen, it's always a pleasure. I'll let you get up the road. Thank you very much for joining us on the Hotline Live.
Nice one. Thanks, Daniel. All the best.
Cheers, Fraser.
Record Sports Fraser Wilson there from outside Easter Road battling with the Seagulls. And thank you very much as well to Craig Swan battling the cold at Fir Park and Andy Newport battling the lights at Ibrox. Thank you if you sent in comments and contributions today. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back to do it all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow on the Hotline Live. Thanks for watching.